welcome to The Rings of Power. Thus far on the show, I have to admit it has been disappointing me a bit. I still haven't gotten that Lord of the Rings feeling from any of it. I had the same issue with the Hobbit movies. And I have to admit, there's a lot of characters here that I truly just don't like, which is a bit of a problem. But there's some bright spots, for sure. Visually, it is one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. Like, it has some of the most stunning visuals of any show. But that's kind of to be expected, considering how much they spend per episode. And I do think there's tons and tons of potential for this show to become really great, so I'm sticking through it and waiting to find out if it does. That being said, I do not like this intro. I think it's extremely boring, and I don't know what this sand has anything to do with the Rings of Power. Like maybe the minerals that create it or something. I don't know. Not my favorite intro. One thing I will give them kudos for is that they filmed this all in New Zealand, which, good job.
Move. What we do, Harfoot.
This is one of the storylines I have been enjoying.
An old forest, hill trolls, cave trolls, anything that...
Well, it's a good thing you have a wizard with you now.
You're not a peril.
Well...
You're good.
Maybe.
You're good.
Oh, I should say, I've read all the Lord of the Rings books and all of The Hobbit, and only a little bit of The Silmarillion.
Hey, go on, Pops. Give us a warble.
Sure, I haven't heard a Hobbit song in a little while. Give it to me. Like, just look at that shot right there. Writing aside, the visuals on this show, dude, it's incredible. Okay, I will say, I'm enjoying this. I like the song. It's nice to see everyone, building a nice little companionship and family. But it's moments like this where I'm like, can we speed it up just a little bit, man? Like, come on, TikTok. There's stuff we gotta do here. What the hell is that? Hello? Can I help you? Who was that?
How does it feel?
It looks like it hurts.
I wish
Ew.
you could feel that.
Ew, all the boils. Oh. Like, who is this dude? I've really racked my brains, and I'm like, I cannot think of a character from any Tolkien work that this guy Adar is supposed to be.
But a symbol of our strength.
I feel like there's a very good chance you're all going to die here.
You will stand with me.
I mean, in general, they're in the Southlands, which, if I'm looking at the map correctly, is supposed to be Mordor. So I feel like all of this is doomed for failure. Like, we know Sauron is gonna win these lands.
I'll say this for our ancestors.
Why don't you just bring up the fact that if it were up to him, you would have all been taken prisoner already, because he said, oh, we're not leaving, you're making up shit. It was just a landslide. I would throw that back at him so much. Don't follow that creepy old man. Don't do it. No. I'm also trying to figure out what they're doing with this, Return of the King for the Southlands, because I don't recall a King of the Southlands from any of the books. Unless it was someone who was, like, corrupted by Sauron, like him and his people were. I don't know. I know there were corrupted men as a part of Sauron's armies.
Half the city wants a spot on those boats.
Interesting, considering, like, a couple days ago, y'all wanted nothing to do with the elves.
You know I'm twice the same.
Do you belong to the sea?
Oh, shut up. You know he would have gotten on if he wanted to. This character, for the most part, is kind of meh to me, but his momentary freakout where he nearly, murdered people with his bare fists, that made me curious. I want to know what that's all about, because he lost it. He did not defend himself. He lost it. Oh, look who it is. And I have to admit, Galadriel's got to be my least favorite character on this show. She is written to be such an unlikable, rude person on this. It drives me crazy.
The ship will prove just as invaluable once we make landfall.
Did she know?
I trust she was not speaking in haste.
Oh, she was.
As a matter of fact, it was my intention.
companion is merely feeling the weight of his task.
Why are you forcing him to do this, Galadriel?
Given that I've staked my name upon it, I should hope so.
Never occurred to me you'd hand me over for a guild crest.
You used me.
Many might assume you used me.
Except, as he just said, he literally begged you to not say anything. He doesn't want to be king. Like, Galadriel is so pushy on this. Literally every episode, she says it's my way, or I'm going to force it to be my way. And it's like, dude, chill out. What kind of tracks are those?
Wolves.
That is not a wolf paw print. There's not a wolf.
He's responsible, isn't he? The big fella.
What precisely do you expect me to do about it?
Take their wheels and leave them.
Are you serious?
What's it?
Are you being serious?
Getting hungry.
You have no proof, or even any indication that the wizard has anything to do with this. Yeah, just eat your mushrooms and shut up. Oh. That is not a wolf. What is that? That's right, break it off, smack it in the face. I was expecting magic, but that works too. Yeah, there ain't no way they'll want to mess around with that. Like, seriously, what are they though? They look like a mixture of like a wolf and a hog. I never got any indication that their magic could backfire on them like that.
We will see who can score flesh.
Do you guys want to maybe use training swords? Using actual sharp blades is very dangerous. Very Arya Stark right there. Well, it's expected, but I mean, kind of enjoying the choreography. I do like how easily she's
It's about balance rather than strength.
moving
Fight
the
with your
sword.
feet.
And I am enjoying that they're making her kind of playful right here. They're actually making her somewhat likable. I appreciate it. Oh. Did you actually get her?
Brute force to best an orc.
He did get you, though.
Well done, Lieutenant.
Because my father would sooner die than take orders from an elf.
Is that the reveal that this is his dad? Or did I just not realize that?
When all this is ended, elves will take orders from us.
That is not true.
How could this be for Numenor?
Well, Numenor's about to not be there anymore, so...
A king who will be forever not dead. Now contemplate, if you can, how that might benefit us. I wouldn't dare stop that, not for all the salt in the sea.
You see, I like this. A nice, ambitious character, very Game of Thronesy. I like it.
What, Father? What awaits me?
Death.
Darkness.
Yeah, same thing.
Brought you some beeswax. Slather some on that paw, should help with the tenderness.
You could do that too.
Hey.
Oh. Say something. Say, hey, stop. Kind of figured there'd be a lot of this, though. Like, just the inevitable fragileness of hobbits versus the sheer power of a wizard. The collateral damage that could come from it. Wait, is he actually going to turn out to be kind of evil? Because that would suck.
Bit southern for elves, no? Typically takes you people weeks just to decide to take a shit.
If I may.
One of the funnier lines on the show.
May reserve its use for the most sacred purposes.
And you're using it as a table. Okay. Is he implying they stole it from the dwarves?
Please forgive our sacrilege, Lord Durin.
I'm not sure what the implication is there, though, because if they stole it from the dwarves, then, yeah, obviously send it home with him. But if they got it themselves, like, they mined it, they can do whatever the fuck they want with their rocks. Like, if you consider it sacred, tough shit, sorry.
Within which some claim was hidden the last of the lost Silmarils.
Ah.
Poured all his light into the tree to protect it. On the other, a Balrog of Morgoth channeled all his hatred into the tree to destroy it.
Whoa.
Forging
kind of an interesting backstory on Mithril.
Did find it, the ore containing the light of the lost Silmaril, yet ensuring the doom of your own.
You don't shut up. Everyone Every, like, leader in this universe is like, if we don't have these people's thing, we'll die, for sure. And it's never true. It's never true. Again, look at those visuals, though. Oh my god.
Did the dwarves find the ore or not?
No. You better say no if you don't.
I swore an oath to Durin.
Just say no. Saying that means you found it.
You're only apologizing because you think, now that I've been promoted, I can get you on the expedition.
Well, you could.
Gut, your choice, one hit.
He's not even gonna take you.
Actually...
Oh. And if you want to know the truth, you're probably still my best. But answer me, please. You've a duty that you might well decide.
It'll be different this time.
What? No, fuck all of you. Like, seriously, everyone is pissing me off.
I hope you find something that you would...
I'm glad Isildur didn't destroy the ring and fuck so many people up. I would have too.
I'll take care of it. He's always right.
Just sneak on the ships at this point. Who fucking cares? They all think you're some honorless person who could never serve properly. So prove it. Just go anyways. You little shit.
Are you stowing away?
Yes. Please don't accidentally just drop it. Of course. Oh. I didn't think it was gonna blow up. And because he tried to save the ship, and I'm sure he's about to tell them the truth, they'll probably let him go with.
What happened? He was in a fishing boat. A cast must have gone up.
Oh, he actually used Finnegan? I would have ratted him out so fast. You owe me. Don't be shitty. You owe me.
Enough to saturate every last elf in the light of the Valar once more.
That's it?
And yes.
Was that ever a thing in the book that Mithril has this light in it that could restore an elven person's light? Like,
I am sorry.
I don't know. That seems kind of
Did the High King deceive me?
stupid. I don't know. It's the actual worst broom I've ever seen. Holy shit.
Not so long ago, men like me were fighting alongside them.
Men like you, not you yourself.
I get the feeling he will be by the end of this. That's my theory. I don't know.
Why do you keep fighting?
Because I cannot stop.
It's just a compulsion for you.
Sauron!
Oh, I think he may have just made a fatal error right there, sir. Is this guy not working with Sauron? That would be kind of interesting. I would actually like that. That'd be a good little twist. No, don't kill the kid. Like, he's not like a nice guy or anything, but he's just a kid. Damn.
Lift your aim next time.
That was kind of dark. Oh, you actually showed him.
I've seen
Good
this
on you.
before.
Kind of convenient that it's right there, but okay. Oh.
Our enemy knows your son has what he needs to enact it.
Well, again, we know this is destined for failure. Like, we know this becomes Mordor at some point. I like all the practical, like, makeup used for the orcs, though. I very much appreciate that.
You made it up, didn't you?
This has been wanting a new table for years.
You asshole.
My kind must either abandon these shores by spring or perish.
So do you need to leave by spring, or do you need to leave by the end of the Lord of the Rings? I'm a little confused.
Of the entire elven race is in my hands.
Technically your father's.
So it would appear.
Whose hands?
Oh my gosh, yours.
Yours.
Thank me after we find a way to convince my father.
I was gonna say, that'll be the difficult part.
It's a long journey back.
No, this is not a heartwarming moment for me. I do not like this guy. He's been frustrating me every episode I've seen him in. Was it Galadriel? Ooh, alright, well, I still don't like her character all that much, but god damn, that is some nice armor. Where did she get elven armor from, though? Was it just chilling on the island? There they go. at the end. Okay. I definitely liked this episode more than the fourth one. Probably still less than the third, and more than the second and the first. Another Rings of Power episode, and another episode where I still don't really know what the whole main story is. Being called the Rings of Power, I'm assuming the main overarching story is how they make the Rings of Power, and hopefully what they do with them after they make them. I would be very upset if, like, the last episode on the show is them making the rings. But there's so many plots going on in this, and a lot of them I still, 5 episodes in, have no clue how it's going to connect with that, with the Rings of Power, or even with the other storylines. Like, as much as I'm enjoying the Harfoot story with the Brandyfoots and our wizard friend, how does that connect with anything? Like, what characters are they going to come across? What service to the plot does this immensely powerful wizard and this very fragile but, determined Harfoot have to everything? So far, it feels kind of just like the obligatory, we have to have hobbits in this, and we have to have wizards in this, so we just put them in their own little story that you can watch. And I'm sincerely hoping that it connects somehow, because I'm enjoying, like, what's here. It's just, I don't know how it connects. Adar and the Southlands and all that is still very confusing to me, because it became apparent that Adar is not a servant of Sauron, which is interesting. I like that twist, but I'm also almost sure that all these people will eventually be corrupted and serve Sauron and Mordor and all that. And now they've made the reveal that the hilt is actually like a sword that is a key to something, potentially Adar becoming a full-blown god, or maybe it's simply what corrupts these lands and turns it into the wasteland that is Mordor. That's personally my theory. But if that's the case, what does Adar have to do with this if he's not a servant of Sauron? It's interesting. I actually am rather curious. But again, how is this storyline or these characters going to intersect with any of the other ones? I suppose Galadriel and the Númenóreans might be the ones to show up and save these people at the last possible second. Honestly, that's probably what's going to happen. Everything going on in Númenor, this episode honestly dragged a lot for me. I kind of liked what they did with Númenor in the 4th episode. I felt like we got some forward progression. And here we did, but there's a lot of stuff in there that it just feels like fluff to me. Like seeing, 5 different people tell Isildur, like, nah, you don't know what honor or service really means. Get out of my face. Like, they just kept doing that scene over and over again, and I'm like, man, I get it. And I am glad that it seems they made Galadriel a bit more likable in this episode. Like, she opened up a little bit to Halbrand. She was a little bit more playful, I guess, and friendly towards the other Númenóreans during their little sparring match. So that was nice, I guess. But even still, she consistently spent the whole episode and all the previous ones telling Halbrand, I don't care what you want. You're going to become king. You're going to fight this evil force with me. And you don't have a choice because I want to do it. And it just makes her so fucking unlikable, in my opinion. Again, they did improve in some ways in this episode, but that is still a hard thing to overcome. And then there was everything going on with the dwarves and the elves, which, considering what happens in the whole thing, like, it's about the reveal that the elves were after Mithril and that it can save them somehow, which... was that ever a thing? I swear that was never a thing in the books. Like, if it was, wouldn't... even in Lord of the Rings time, wouldn't they still be trying everything they possibly could to get Mithril and make sure that they can retain their light? I don't know. But then, subsequently, it's all about Durin deciding he is going to help them, or is going to try and help them. I feel like there's no way in hell he's going to convince his dad, even with the extreme caveat of, hey, their lives literally hinge on us giving this to them or not. So we have the most leverage we ever have, which in my opinion would be worthwhile in giving them the mithril. But I have a feeling his dad's gonna be like, no, we're not doing that. No. And I don't know, this was another storyline where I liked, for the most part, what I got in those scenes. I just felt like they were too long. There were some scenes that just were 10 minutes long and could have easily been a minute or two. And it just frustrates me a little how slow the pacing on this show is. But yes, the final scene of the episode is the Númenóreans taking their 500, or I guess 300 men now, along with Galadriel and I guess the new King of the Southlands, Halbrand, and they're all headed off to Middle-earth, Shit is about to go down. But let's jump into the technicals. Writing in this episode, as I've said, I have a lot of gripes with the writing on this show. There are multiple characters that are very unlikable. Galadriel, Durin some of the time, most of the Númenórean characters, aside from Isildur, and even he can be kind of frustrating. The High King of the Elves, there are just so many characters that are quite unlikable. And the fact that some of them are, the protagonists, the ones we're supposed to be rooting for, that's not great. In this episode, and in all the other ones, I keep wondering to myself why they are over an hour long, because there are so many moments and scenes that seem completely pointless to me. There's a whole 60-second moment of seeing Halbrand being a blacksmith in Númenor. Are the shots very nice and pretty to look at? Yes. Why does this scene matter? Why does it matter that he can forge a good sword? I don't see why it's important. And since it doesn't seem very important at all, just cut the scene down. Just have it be just show the guards walking in to tell him, you've been summoned, and don't show me all the, the beauty shots of him creating a sword. There's just little things like that, and larger things where there are just entire scenes that I truly cannot discern the purpose of. Personally, the sparring fight with Galadriel and the Númenóreans, why was that there? That couldn't honestly have been instructive enough to dramatically improve any of their fighting abilities. The only thing it did was make one character a lieutenant, and if that's all it was going to do, then reduce this fight scene to a much shorter one between her and him, or do a montage of her sparring with multiple people. He wins, he gets the lieutenant, moving along. There's just so much stuff where I'm like, hurry up, man, you're taking forever. What was the point of seeing them getting drunk at a tavern before Isildur shows up to, not make his apology? You could argue, it's to make you care about them so that when they inevitably die later on, you're going to feel bad about it. Have a scene like this with them and Isildur, with a main character that I care about, not his random fiance. Was it kind of a sweet moment? Sure, but who cares? There are some bright spots in the writing, though. I don't want to just shit on it. There is some actually rather clever comedy that's used here or there, which I appreciate. Some of the dialogue is borderline cringy in how grandiose they're trying to make it. But some of it actually, once in a blue moon, does happen to be a rather inspiring or well-written bit of dialogue. So there are little gems in there for sure. And even though I'm finding the pacing fairly boring within the show, I really do appreciate the restraint in this episode and in others to not have a crazy-ass action sequence. I know I just said the sparring fight went on too long without any reason, but that was the only moment in the entire episode where they decided to have, a bit of action. I mean, I guess the ship exploded, but that's not really an action sequence if you ask me. And I like that the show is not just fight scene, fight scene, fight scene, fight scene. Even though I still don't think the writing is great, I'm glad that they're trying to say something as opposed to just entirely blast you a spectacle. That being said, the visual effects and all the money they pour into the visuals of the show is a lot about the spectacle, but I digress. So for the writing, I'm going to do a 3 out of 10. I know that's harsh, but I really think the writing needs to improve on this show. Editing of the episode. The edits were decent, but once again, there are some scenes where I would actually prefer if they sped up the editing at least to kind of make up for the slow pace of the writing. But even the editing is very methodical and slow paced, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but since the rest of it is already so slow, that was a way they could have really improved on it. And there's a lot of shots and cuts that I think could have been removed entirely because it just feels like padding and fluff for the runtime. So I'll do a 5 out of 10. Cinematography is phenomenal. I cannot deny the lighting on this show is gorgeous. The framing is either textbook or quite good. They do have a huge assist from a very, very large special effects budget, but you can't just CGI everything. They still had to have a DP actually frame this all up and make it look as good as it does. So I'm going to do a 9 out of 10. Acting in the episode. It's another interesting one because I feel like there are some actors who are doing a very good job and some who certainly are not. I've seen some criticisms of the acting for the Harfoots, but honestly, I think those actors are doing a great job. Like, the material they're being given, like, they are delivering. They are very much warm-spirited and cautious hobbits. Like, I think they're doing a great job. As well as the guy playing the wizard. What's his name? I'm actually gonna look that up. I don't know who the actor is. I can't seem to look it up. I recognize him from something. It's difficult to tell through the wig and the beard and everything, but I know I recognize him from something. And I think he's doing a very good job playing this mysterious wizard character who you're not really sure if you should be rooting for or trying to get as far away from the Harfoots as possible. I do think the performance of Morfydd Clark, I think that's how you pronounce it, right? Morfydd? Someone correct me. The woman playing Galadriel, I feel like her performance is kind of stiff. It's very wooden during a lot of stuff. Even the times when she's crying or emoting, it feels not forced per se, just, I don't know, stifled in some way. It doesn't feel quite right or natural. And I don't really think the actors playing the Númenóreans, specifically the younger ones like Isildur and his friends, I just don't think they're that good. I don't know. I really like the performance of Robert Aramayo for Elrond. I think he's doing a very good job. He's, in my opinion, probably the best actor on the show right now. I know someone's gonna be like, you're insane. But in my opinion, I think he's delivered the best emotional range of any character. What have I seen him on too? I know I've seen him on something. He was Ned Stark on Game of Thrones. Oh, I knew I recognized him. What the fuck? Oh, and he was on Mindhunter too. Holy shit. Apparently this guy just knows how to play characters for the right shows, I guess. But anyways, because it's both good and bad for acting, I'll do a 7 out of 10. Costumes and makeup. For the most part, I really like the costumes and makeup on the show. But, with a big but here, it doesn't feel like The Lord of the Rings. The movie specifically. I realize some of these costumes are actually a little more book accurate than some of the stuff we got in the Lord of the Rings movies. But I think you'd be a fool not to admit that The Lord of the Rings was a phenomenon. Like, you should be trying to live up to that specifically, in my opinion. But in most cases, the actual design work of the costumes and armors and everything, I think they're great. Like Galadriel's armor and Halbrand's armor at the end of the episode, this should look nice. On the flip side, I do feel like some of the elven costumes for the other characters feel a little cheap. Not too much so, like they look good, but there's a simplicity to them that's almost a little too simple. And I think the costume for that guy Kemen, the Númenórean dude, that was just awful. Like, that was a horrible costume. So yeah, again, it's kind of tough to say because I think the actual design work is very good, except for Kemen. It also just doesn't feel too much like The Lord of the Rings. So I'll do another 7 out of 10. Set design, I'd be a fool not to give it like a 10 out of 10. I mean, the sets that they have created for this show are truly phenomenal. They are another place a lot of the money is going to, I would assume, because some of these sets are clearly built like on a green screen stage, but are still massive in and of themselves. Like, obviously there's a lot of set extensions going on with CGI, but it's also clear that they built some very, very big sets that look very, very good. Like the room that Halbrand was summoned to with the Queen Regent and Galadriel and whatever the other dude's name is. That looked gorgeous. And again, I'm sure there was some CGI assistance there, but it's a fantastic set and location for almost everything I've seen on the show. So yeah, that's 10 out of 10. Visual effects, I also would be kind of a fool not to give it at least a very high score, because good lord, they really took the time and really gave it the money for the special effects on this show. There are some effects that don't look perfect, and I think considering the amount of money that this show was given, they don't really have an excuse for that. But regardless, those little slip-ups are pretty few and far in between. Like, for me, a standout in this one was the ice that was forming on the wizard's arm and then on Nori's arm as well. Even though it wasn't good enough to fool me that it's not an effect, holy shit, did that look extremely detailed and really well done. The animation was great. Like, the visual effects on this show are definitely a highlight. I'm trying to think if there was a moment in this episode where the visual effects slipped a little. I do feel like the story about how Mithril is created, like, obviously that's meant to look a little more like a storybook and not super real, but it did feel like that might have been a spot that they rushed a little. So I'll do a 9 out of 10. Extremely good, but considering the budget that they have, there should be no flaws. It should be damn perfect. And finally, the sound design. Personally, I'm a little disappointed with the sound design. I think the score, again, of the original The Lord of the Rings movies was unbelievably good. And in a lot of cases was very simplistic. It only had 1 or 2 instruments at a time playing. Here, it seems like they are trying to go much more grand and loud, but it just doesn't have the same tone, the same feeling that the music in those movies elicited. It's good, don't get me wrong, like it's not something I can say, oh, you know, it's so terribly made. It just doesn't feel like what it's supposed to. So I will go for a 6 out of 10. And that gives this episode a 7 out of 10, which honestly I'm a little surprised by. I feel like that's mostly just because the visuals and, you know, the sets and the cinematography are so fantastic on the show. Because I truly think the writing on this is probably the worst of the like 4 shows that I'm watching right now. And I don't know if it can dig itself out of the holes that it's already created, but I have faith that it can. A little over halfway through this season, they have a chance to pull this together into a finale that will get me to want to watch a season 2. But yes, I will see you all on that next one. And that's about it.